Hello and welcome to Gas Forward, the future of energy and wealth. I'm your host for today, and my name is Yerwang Shambo. And you already know what we're about, driving conversations that push the future of energy forward across Africa and beyond. Today, we are talking about something that is changing the face of gas as we know it, digitalization. From how we store, transport, and use gas to how we monitor, protect, and even predict the outcomes. So, this episode is packed with gold, and you do not want to miss it. So, today, our episode is proudly sponsored by Radiant Money, your trusted partner for smart and secure financial solutions. Whether you're an entrepreneur, a professional, or an investor, Radiant Money is committed to helping you build wealth the right way through expert guidance, innovative tools, and financial empowerment. Thank you, Radiant Money, for making this possible. So, now let's get right into today's conversation. Joining us today is a man at the forefront of gas innovation. He's the managing director of SRG Rotarex Group, a mechanical engineer by training and a digital solutions champion for the global gas industry, all the way from Berlin, Germany, Mr. Ingo Weinert. Now, it's an honor to have you, sir. You're welcome. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm very excited.
Thank you, sir. All right. So now please permit me to read his brief and simple profile before we move right into our session. So Mr. Ingo is the managing director of SRG, part of the Rotarex group with a background in mechanical engineering and roots in oil and gas industry. With a passion for technology and a bit of a self-proclaimed tech nerd, Mr. Ingo is driving innovation in the compressed gases sector, pushing the industry toward a smarter, more connected future. His focus lies in bridging traditional gas technologies with digital solutions from smart valves to real-time gas level monitoring to make safety, efficiency, and insight the new standard. Mr. Ingo, thank you once again for being here, and we are very excited to have you and very ready to learn. Thank you. Now, let's get into why we are really here. We are ready to put Mr. Ingo on the coolest seat in the house and try to hijack, as much insight, wisdom, and notes as possible. So, sir, kindly verify, are you ready for us?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. Thank you, sir. So let's start by setting the scene, Mr. Ingo. You've led innovation at Rotarex for years. How would you describe the evolution of the gas industry over the past decade in light of digitalization? What were the big shifts you've seen, and what's pushing the urgency for innovation?
Yeah, so thank you once again, for the introduction. And I've been in this oil and gas sector for a couple of years now, 20 plus years, to be honest. And I believe it's a very different industry. However, they all face similar challenges. But while I would say you could imagine in a medical environment where you would use medical oxygen, it's obviously more common to look into digital solutions and monitoring. Whereas in a very price-sensitive environment like the LPG industry, it's always linked to cost. And therefore, it has been a long way coming to provide solutions that could also be available for pretty much every application. The last 10 years, how would I describe the last 10 years? I mean, it has been driven by applying the best practices and always with an eye on the cost of the product, not only in manufacturing, but also how can we define and set new standards across different applications within the LPG industry. But similar to other industries, we started off really putting a product solution into the cryogenic market first, because this is, let's say, it's also a price sensitive industry like every industry, but we got a very high acceptance rate there. The product actually changed the market standard it was 2023 when we introduced it. And by now being into 2025, it defined the market. So it's a very, very reliable and accurate solution. It provides connectivity to the product itself. So it allows customers, gas distributors, to monitor not only the gas levels, but also the assets. And it gives them full transparency. And still the challenge remains, how can we make the same technology available for everyone? And everyone, I mean, is like the typical standard cylinder that is being used in almost every household for the cooking and hot water or heating applications. So that's what we are aiming for. That's what we are targeting for 2025.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for that perspective. I mean, the shift you described really shows how innovation isn't optional anymore, it's urgent. Thank you, Mr. Ingo. So, Mr. Ingo, what were some of the early digital technologies that Rotarex embraced that made a noticeable impact, especially around safety or performance? Any key milestones you're proud of that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, I mean, we are still a family-owned company, fourth generation, based in Luxembourg. The owner and president of our company, I think he saw it coming 30 years ago when he bought a company in the Netherlands, a company which is dedicated to, it's a specific technology, it's capacitance measurement technologies. That's also the name of the company, CMT. And it has always been in the industrial side of application. Again, not as price sensitive as the traditional LPG cylinder application. But this is really where Rotarex started back in the days, 30 plus years ago. And I would describe one milestone has certainly been when we introduced like a smart technology to control road tankers, bobtail trucks filling LPG tanks. And there is a sensor technology within the tank. It can detect the max fill level. So whenever it's time to stop the pump and the filling process, there's a wireless transmission between the valve and the bobtail truck's pump, and it stops the filling process. Because in an industrial processing, overfilling of cylinders or tank, it's one of the key issues. And that's something that we are serving the industry with as of today. And I think it's a market standard in many countries. And that's something that Rotarex has been on the forefront, introducing to the LPG industry.
Wow, that's amazing. But I mean, I love hearing, those practical examples. It's one thing to say we are digital, but it's seeing how it showed up in real systems are impressive. Great insight there. Thank you, sir. So now there's a tension a lot of innovators face, especially in sectors like gas. How do you strike the balance between moving fast with innovation and meeting often slow, rigid regulatory standards? Has that ever slowed down your vision?
Actually not. I mean, the problem that we have faced, I mean, let's face it, the regulatory report lags behind, because when you look at the global standards today, for instance, you will hardly find any electronic solution being covered by these standards. This is a typical mechanical standard, defining and specifying mechanical means and measures and tests that must be complied with. But you will hardly find anything which is linked to technology that is, I would say, first century technology. It's an industry, and I'm talking about LPG here for most part, that is rather slow. If you would describe it in turbulent levels, I would say it's one of the ones which sees no innovation going forward, for good and bad. It always has two sides of it. But we still feel like that the acceptance and the conversations that we have they have dramatically changed over the course of the last 5 years. That's for sure. So we see an openness. I mean, everyone always loved technology, but almost no one was willing and able to afford it. So that has been our homework done to make it affordable to the industry that also provides the quantity. Let's face it, the big quantity, when we look at the application, is within the cylinder business. But in order to get the technology from a mechanical point of view, make it small enough so it could fit into a standard cylinder, into a standard valve, and also covering the cost side of it, that has been quite challenging. I'm quite optimistic that we mastered it. So that's what we are excited about for 2025. So it's really that year should define how the industry moves. That's for sure.
Brilliant, sir. Thank you so much. I think from what you said, I think it takes more than tech. It takes strategy, actually. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah.
So moving on, Mr. Ingo, I think we've heard a lot about, smart gas. And but from someone listening from, let's say, Lagos market or the streets of Nairobi, what does smart gas really mean in practical, everyday terms? How is it changing safety at the user level?
I mean, safety from our experience, and we have 100 years in the industry, it's obviously in every decision and every move we do, it's the number one priority. So I would say our products are safe by nature. So I think if you invest into the right equipment, if you invest into the right accessories, because that's what we also see globally, the accessories, the appliances used, that's normally where things get a bit tricky. And I would say, from a safety perspective, it's more like ensuring that you always have full control over your gas levels. But obviously, connectivity means that you can combine and connect different sources of information to one device. We are focused on the level sensing technology, and that by nature is more like a convenience than it is a safety addition to the product. Obviously, fuel levels, rapid changes in fuel levels and LPG levels will always give you a degree of safety. But on the product itself, today it's like you have no information whatsoever. What's the content in your cylinders? What's the content of LPG in your cylinder? So I know what you are pointing out to, but safety in itself, it's still defined by the accessories and the appliances used. That's also unfortunately something we cannot really change. That's more like the bigger value chain behind the product, LPG, and how it is used.
Noted. Thank you so much, Mr. Ingo, for sharing that. That was actually very insightful. So, next question. I know that Rotarex is leading some pioneering work in digital safety systems and gas sensors. So, could you please walk us through any technologies that you're excited about right now? Maybe something futuristic that's already here.
Yeah, I mean, we are not we are providing different technologies for information over gases. It's usually linked to a bigger a system. Like, we are also very active in the fire suppression market. So fire suppression systems in itself, they provide a solution to many challenges in many different industries. But again, a system is only as good as its like the control measures you have over it. That's one of the things that is most important for us, because there are many sensor providers in the industry regarding different technologies where you sense gas leaks, for instance. But we also decided for our company that we focus on what we can do best, and that's we are a valve manufacturing company and not forsake a sensor technology company. So we leave sensor technologies for our partners, and they can be incorporated into bigger systems. So we also strongly believe in strong partnerships, and that's one of the partnerships that we have with industry leaders across the globe.
Oh, that's amazing, sir. Thank you. I mean, honestly, hearing how these sensors work in real time is mind blowing, and I think we're already living in the future, right? So, Mr. Ingo, how do digital monitoring systems actually help in preventing accidents or improving, emergency response?
Well, you definitely have the overview and the transparency over fuel levels, but not only that at the end consumer side, but also within the logistics, because for every customer served, you need to have two other cylinders in this case. When you talk about an end consumer using LPG cylinders for the cooking application or heating. So let's take you as an example. You have one cylinder at your house. You may store a spare one in your garage or somewhere outside, or there might be one in logistics, which means it's on its way to you, or it's on its way back to the central filling location and storage location. So when you talk about smart valves, they not only give you the information about the content, but also about its location, something which is becoming also more, let's say, important for companies operating big fleets, because normal gas distributors would have a quite significant fleet of cylinders, and to keep track of those and where they are, if they are at your place, are they in logistics, are they at the filling plant, That's, I think, one of the key benefits you get from monitoring LPG levels in cylinders or tanks. For emergency response, yeah, it's more like the overview over the full range of assets that a gas provider holds. So again, it's a combination of different technologies that could be linked together. And in our experience, the combination is something that could be helpful. Yeah, so fuel levels on one end, but you have for instance, a carbon monoxide detector. Something like that is probably the best way forward. But here again, we rely on partnerships that provide these type of sensors that could be linked with our products and our communication devices. And these type of information would be made available on a database hosting the data on a large scale. Because as I mentioned earlier, gas companies normally operate a large fleet of cylinders and they have a large customer base. So it's maybe not big data, but it's quite significant data to manage. And that's, I think, what we do for these type of applications. We provide another input for the bigger picture that one of our customers, a typical gas provider, would have to manage.
Thank you so much, sir. That's a very powerful angle. Thanks for that angle, Mr. Ingo. Well, we are already like halfway through, and this is one of the conversations that we just, we're really enjoying, right? And Mr. Ingo, I hope you're still ready for us to take more questions coming ahead. And please, to all our incredible listeners, sit tight and stay to the end. You really do not want to miss what's coming next. So let's jump right back in. We've talked about a lot about systems, sensors, and safety. Now let's look at, maintenance, a big deal in this world, in this part of the world. Mr. Ingo, so this next one is for you, obviously. In Africa, usually they say maintenance is usually when it breaks, you fix it. But the industry is shifting toward predictive maintenance thanks to data and IoT. Can you share how that's playing out in gas installations?
Yeah, that's a very interesting part of the data management, because when people hear about the smart valve, they just think of a valve that is able to read the level of LPG in the cylinder. But what is missing sometimes is that you get a full transparency over the asset itself, because a cylinder is a packaging, isn't it? At the end of the day, it's a cylinder that contains the LPG, the product, the actual product. But it's very important to keep track of the maintenance need and predictive maintenance, and that all comes with the user patterns. And not only that, but also what is the manufacturing date of the cylinder? How many times has it been refilled? How often has it been used? Even maybe how often has it been controlled by an expert? Like one of the countries that we are working with, they have a dedicated system where the cylinder is delivered by experts, and these experts, they carry out like on the installation itself. So how's the regulator? How is the gas hose? How are the connections? So every time you receive a new cylinder, it goes along with a little security check. And all of this can be monitored and checked and controlled and stored. So you create a quite significant set of data that you can use, that your industry experts can use for many different things. And one of it is certainly predictive maintenance and also refurbishment cycles. I know that some clients, I had a conversation earlier today with Taiwan. In Taiwan, every 5 years, you have to get the cylinder and the valve inspected by professionals. In the US, it's every 10 years. In Europe, it's every 15 years. So when you look at the total number of cylinders, the set of data becomes quite significant. So the better overview you can obtain, the better it is to plan your activities way ahead of when these cylinders come back to you. So I think that's something quite interesting that is for not always, but very, very often forgotten about these type of technologies.
Wow, amazing. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing that. Predictive maintenance isn't just efficient, it's wise. And I really love how you tie tech with cost savings and safety. So it just says that, smart maintenance is the way forward. Thank you, Mr. Ingo. So next is a lot of people ask, beyond safety, does this actually help the planet? So I would ask you, have you seen any real energy savings or carbon reduction results through this digital upgrades at Rotarex?
Well, I would say that at the end of the day, I can talk about one solution that we have provided to the customer in the United States, because what they do, they do carbon capture. It's oil exploration. It's done in Canada, but the customer is in the United States. So this is a quite interesting project because it's the same thing. It's one of our smart valves. It has our communication unit, and based on the carbon capture and the measurement of the product, they apply for tax credits, and that was pretty new to us, and actually the only one which is really linked to CO2 certificates and monetizing one of our applications. When you go back to the traditional applications like the LPG, I would think LPG for its nature, it's already better than heating oil or other fossil fuels. So I think we already have a product which it's a bridge technology, I would say. Huh? We have different molecules that we use in our everyday lives, and LPG is certainly one of the better ones. It's maybe not the perfect solution, but it's an available technology, a very safe technology, and I think it's being used across the world. I know that Europe has taken a different path when it comes to fossil fuels, but we see the rest of the world where LPG is still growing because it's a good technology, it's a good bridge technology, and I think it has been there for 100+ years. I'm quite sure it's going to be there for 100+ years, and I think it's a good thing because it's a better molecule than others. But it will not really. I mean, obviously, every fossil fuel burned is maybe not really benefiting the climate change as such, but I think it plays a role, and it will continue to play its role. I mean, smart technologies, what can they do? I mean, you could probably have less fuel sitting around as a spare product, but I mean, burning a molecule comes with an emission, and we cannot change that, unfortunately.
Thank you so much, Mr. Ingo. The sustainability angle, really rounds up the conversation beautifully. So thanks for sharing those results. So, Mr. Ingo, you've worked with players in different regions, in the world and across. What role do local partnerships like Doowe Gas here in Nigeria, play in scaling smart gas technologies globally? How do they influence adoption on the ground?
Well, I think it's also interesting because in Europe, I feel like personally, because I've been traveling and doing road shows on that technology, like with James from Doowe here, we had a very early on, very positive mindset and spirit and understanding what this technology can do and how it can help business models and customer service. It's interesting that in Europe, I think we lag behind a little bit, whereas in Africa, we see a very positive trend. We've just been last year to Cape Town, to the World LPG Forum, which is like a global conference and also exhibition. And we had very, very interesting conversations with customers from the continent. We also do see, because of efficiency and also the size of the market, a lot of interest in the US, Latin America. Interestingly, I don't know, Europe is more difficult than other regions. I mean, maybe it has changed. Maybe Europe is the one to follow at this time instead of leading the way. Maybe a bit sarcastic. Okay, that's part of it, isn't it?
Sure, sir. Well, thank you. Thank you for the sarcasm.
Being a European by heart, obviously.
Sure. Thank you. Love that. I mean, Dewey and others really play a huge role in making tech feel human. So, great point. Thank you, Mr. Ingo. So, sir, speaking of adoption, let's talk, Africa. What challenges or even opportunities do you see in bringing these digital gas innovations to emerging markets? Are we ready, or are there things, key things we need to put in place?
I think it takes commitment. At the end of the day, I'm sure you are ready. It takes commitment, financial commitment. Obviously, it takes the business model. But I can tell you from my conversations I absolutely see nothing that would prevent you from turning turning this into a great business model and a great success story. I mean, it's super professional people, super clear vision on where they want to go. So it's I have zero doubts that this is going to work.
Thank you. I mean, the honesty and optimism in your answer really hits home. And yes, we do have challenges, but as you said, commitment, and also we have, huge potential. So that perspective is encouraging. Thank you, sir. So every country has its own version of red tape. So how adaptable are your systems to different regulatory environments or infrastructural limits, especially in developing regions?
Yes, so that's an interesting one because our history goes back to 1934, where our founders defined the first quick coupling valve connection for LPG valve to regulator connections. Before that, and still today, you find a lot of screw type connections to LPG valves. Over the years, and I think it's the interesting part, our company has been part of the Shell group, the oil and gas company, and they used our technology, our R&D, to actually roll out these type of different configurations that we have today across different countries and continents, driven by Shell, and they were all designed and produced by our company here. And that was been between the 80s. I think it was between 80s and 95. So long story short, most of these valves are based on our designs, and we have a very, very large range of products. So we have pretty much we have the world covered. So I'm sure there will be no limitations when it comes to the valves used. So we are ready.
Interesting. Thank you so much, sir, for that. So we've come to the end of our session, but as we wrap up, I'm just going to throw your last question to you, Mr. Ingo. And it is, what's that one innovation or trend in digital gas tech that excites you most right now, and why should we be watching it, in the next 3 to 5 years?
Well, I think we have something coming. We have something in our pipeline that we are working on, which I believe will even provide another step forward to this type of technology. Because, energy management is one of the key features that everyone must master. Like whenever you want to do a communication device, as you can tell by your own smartphone, you don't want to recharge your phone every 2 hours. So you need something that comes with a certain battery life. So you need a battery. And how would the world look like if we don't need a battery anymore? And we can use different forms of getting information out of a valve. So that's something I believe that I'm very excited about going forward. But that's, like you said, 3 to 5 years from now. I'm most excited about 2025 because this is really when we are going to get our smart valves out there for many, many different models and many markets, many customers that we already talked to. We have partnerships with a lot of the market leaders in the industry. So yeah, I'm excited about 2025.
Wow, that's amazing. I mean, I love ending on that note, future facing and full of possibility. That trend is definitely one to watch. Thank you so much, sir, for painting, such a vivid picture of where we are headed. So, Mr. Ingo, this has really been an insightful session. You've dropped a lot of knowledge, opened our minds, and reminded us why the future of gas needs to be smart, safe, and sustainable. Thank you so much, sir, for sharing your time, your brain, and your experience with us today. We are definitely taking away and walking away with, many ideas, deeper understanding, and a renewed energy. We hope to have you again sometime in the future if you would love to join us again. So thank you, Mr. Ingo.
Yeah, thank you, Yerwang. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, and reach out at any time. I will make myself available if I can add some know-how to a discussion if it's around the gas industry.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mr. Ingo. That was so nice of you. Okay, thank you to everybody. Thank you to all our listeners and our viewers. Thank you for tuning in to Gas Forward, the future of energy and wealth. If this episode sparked something in you or made you think differently, please do us a favor, subscribe to Doowe Gas on YouTube. Follow us on social media. We are active on LinkedIn, Instagram, and YouTube. And please check us out on www.dewey.ng. Until next time, keep asking questions, keep learning, and keep pushing energy forward. I'm Yerwang Shambo, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much.